I think too, like learning to be kinder to yourself. Learning to be kinder to yourself is something that's so important because we internalize so many voices.
Right.
Like throughout our lives, we internalize the voice of our parents, we internalize the voice of our coaches, our teachers, brothers and sisters, right? And those always ain't the best voices. And so like we learn to talk to ourselves that way. Like we wouldn't talk to nobody else that way.
Right.
So why would you talk to the person who is with you every single day that way? So learning to be kinder and have a little more compassion for myself when I make mistakes.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Walk with Drew. This time we are on location. I'm not on the couch. We're on another couch.
Oh yeah.
It's from one couch to another couch.
To another one.
To another one with my brother Matt Gibson. What's good with you?
I'm great, brother. How you living?
I'm good, man. Excited to have this conversation. We've been talking about this for like a good couple weeks, months
for a minute.
Yeah, about just having a conversation. Just set the background for you guys. As you can see by the title, we're talking about self-love, talking about reflection, all these different things. And this is something that I feel like this guy embodies a lot of. And I've seen and others have seen that, he's really putting in the work internally. He's really putting in the work on, discovering himself, figuring out who he is, self-love. Like he just showed me. Like can I go? Put it in the.
I had to put like half of them. It's a lot.
It's a lot. Like it's like 3 journals right here, but he pulled out like 7 of them.
Yeah.
He's really one that's like heavy on like believing in journaling, believing on self-reflecting, believing on figuring out things about yourself. And I want to get him on here to talk about that because a lot of people have questions like, man, Matt's really, he's really reflective. He's really self-aware. He's really aware of himself. We joke about this, but I sometimes say like, oh, he's in the clouds, not in a bad way. Usually that term is derogatory, like oh, somebody's not thinking about whatever's going on in life or whatever, but he's literally always thinking, he's literally always reminiscing, he's literally always, being aware of his thoughts, stuff like that. And I just wanted to have him come on the show and really just dialogue with us just about that, about where that came from. So first off, if you could kind of just indulge me a bit about your journey as it relates to self-love.
Okay. As it relates to self-love, that's a great question. Mm-hmm. So I guess for me, it kind of started in 2018. That's when I guess I became aware to the fact that, man, I don't think you really love yourself like that. Because for me, for so long in my life, my identity was wrapped up in what I did, right? So like, I played football, I played in NFL, CFL, and when that ended, like I didn't really know who I was anymore. And so like, having that being stripped away from you when you for all of my adult, for so long, it's like wrapped up in it. Having that being stripped away, you had to start thinking like, all right, well, what do I like about myself now that the one thing that I truly built my life and my foundation on is gone? And I honestly, it wasn't much there. It wasn't a lot there.
I can feel that.
And like, I guess football, I could hide behind a lot of stuff. Like one thing we talked about this is like, I honestly didn't believe I was an attractive person until like 2018. I started thinking like, oh, you know what? I think I might be attractive, right?
Right.
And so like at any point in time before then, if somebody would say something like that, I just want to think, oh, I just brush it off. Or like think they were just trying to be nice or something like that. Or they just making that up. But it started then, and I guess for me, how it started for me was with like affirmations. So like, if anytime you would go into like my room or my bathroom, you would always see sticky notes everywhere. I am worthy. I am loved. I am kind. I am a son of God. I am this. I'm that.
Right.
And this always to like help myself remember those things and just like speaking that over myself. Because I believe there's power in your words and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so it started there, and I guess it started with affirmations. And like as time goes on, I started like I guess slowly, it's like one of them slow processes. You start believing a little bit more. So for a while, I didn't believe I looked good. And then I was like, oh, I'm starting to believe I'm handsome.
Right.
For a while, I didn't believe I was worthy. And now in 2020, I'm in a place I am worthy. And I can say that and actually believe it. And so it started with affirmations, but I think it was just as like you become aware of certain things, like more and more, you become like more is revealed to you. And so I guess that's where I was starting my self-love journey. And like now I'm at a place where I'm still learning it.
Right.
Because
never stops.
Right, it's a journey, so it don't ever stop. And like the biggest thing is constantly reminding myself, all right, so where I'm at in my self-love journey today is learning to be kinder to myself, to speak kinder to myself, and to really, appreciate the things about me, the good and the bad.
Right.
Like, because, I ain't all bad and I ain't all good either.
Right.
But appreciating and realizing this is who I am and accepting that. So now I'm at this place of self-acceptance. And I believe that when you start to begin to accept yourself for who you are, then you can truly begin to tap into that love. Because it's like, if I was to fall in love with a woman, like if I didn't really accept who she is, I'm like, do I really love her?
Right.
And so that same thing goes for me. Like if I don't really accept all of me, good, bad, ugly, I can't truly love myself, because I will only love the good parts and not love the parts where I fall short.
So where did like the love for words come from?
That's good. That's good. I don't know. I'm for me, I guess I've just always been inquisitive. That's something you can ask my cousins, my family. I've always been an inquisitive mind. I've always I'm like what you said, I be out in the clouds. I'm a space cadet at times. Like, I'm a space cadet with my head be like, I be, like people be looking at me like, what is he thinking about? Like, what is this nigga thinking about?
Right.
Like, oh, now I'm just over here just reflecting about life. Or,
right.
Why is the sky blue for real though?
Yeah.
Nah, but like, would you ask me like, where do my words come from? I don't know, bro. I think it's just really my emotions.
Okay.
It's my emotions, my raw emotions. And like, I really am I'm a delicate person. I don't want to say sensitive. I'm a delicate person.
Right.
And like, I feel things deeply. And so like, I just process a lot internally. I can externally, like we chopping it up, so I can externally process these things now.
Right.
But like, I'm an internal processor by nature. So all these thoughts come in my head and I start to just think about through my experiences.
Right.
And like, I correlate a lot of stuff, like life. I can correlate life. Like I could be outside walking and like, the wind is blowing a certain way, and I can just like correlate that to life or some way. I don't know. Right. That's just like
it's like Canaan. Canaan is very self-reflective, or can get revelation out of anything.
Yeah, it's a gift, man.
Right.
It's a gift, and so maybe that's what it is. It's just a gift that I've been given, and like for me, writing, it's like when I write, it's just my way of processing my emotions.
Right.
It's a way of processing how I feel, and like they are coming out in like some of the purest forms. And so like it's very transparent, very vulnerable, and it's just essentially like a release. It's released from all the stuff that I just be holding in my head.
So like when it comes to self-care, like I guess that you would say your journaling is like a part of self-care, right? Like how important to you is self-care? Like where did that process kind of start for you in terms of figuring out what's self-care for Matt?
Yeah. So like we was chopping it up early and I told you that self-care for me, self-care for me is like, for when I'm journaling, it's like for my mental, emotional health, right? So if I don't journal, if I'm not writing or finding somewhere, like going to therapy or something like that, finding some way to release the things that I'm thinking about, then that's when I'll be slipping back into like, all right, I'm feeling depressed or I'm anxious as a mud and things like that. So that is one way that I take care of myself. I try to incorporate it into like my day to day. So like it might be in the morning, sometimes I wake up and I'll just start writing. Just like some of the thoughts that's on my head, and that kind of alleviates some of the anxiety that I might just have built up.
Right.
Or it might be the end of the day, and like a lot of my blog posts and stuff that I write come from the stuff that I write down, and it's just me thinking about the thoughts that go through my head and the stuff that is being revealed to me throughout life. And so like that's mentally, it's physically. You want to know how I take care of myself that way too? Or is it just kind of like we just on this?
I mean, you can go on.
We just chopping it up. But like, yeah, so like for me though, journaling is like one of those ways that I do that. And it's also a creative outlet. That's one of the things I didn't realize, that I am creative. And so like embracing that And so like that's how I write. That's one of my ways of creativity. And
Right.
you know, and like it actually has led to me finding other ways that I'm creative as well.
It's a
like,
world in itself.
yeah, bro, for sure. And so, you know, self-care can be a lot of different things. Like I said, that's one way I take care of my mental and emotional health. But like physically, obviously, I could work out. For me, doing yoga, it's not necessarily the actual physical movement part of it, but like that's almost like, it's like spiritual practice too, when you getting in tune with your breath and just being present. Like yoga for me is teaching me to be present in the moment. It's teaching me to be present because my body is always present, but my mind might not always be here. So it's telling me to keep my mind and my body in one and to like really be present. You know? And so, you know, sometimes you gotta, that's just one way. That's another way.
Like we were talking earlier, and I was talking about with the whole like for the longest time, y'all, I suck at journaling. Matt knows I suck at journaling. I suck at the whole affirmation business. I suck at all that stuff. And I've been trying to get into it better. I was just on today, like I meditated today for like the first time. Like I'm not really like I'm like a visual talk it out type of person. So that's one thing I realized when it comes to like self-care, like it doesn't necessarily have to be journaling, but like when it comes to that, I was saying earlier how I didn't grow up hearing "I love you" a lot. So how some people's love languages are words of affirmation. So you gravitate to words somehow, some way. Your love language, part of that is words
of affirmation.
Words of
That's
affirmation.
like my first one.
Yeah. Whereas me, it's gifts of love because I didn't hear "I love you" all the time. I heard, here's a gift. Here's some Ralph Lauren. Here's the Xbox game. Here's this. Here's that. It wasn't necessarily a bad thing. That's just a product of how I was raised and how my mother was raised. Like I was telling him beforehand, my grandfather never. My grandfather does never. I don't think he's probably ever said. I'm not no disrespect, but I don't think he ever really said "I love you" to my mother and my siblings. Like I said, "I love you" to him one time. He was like, "Thank you." Yeah. Like I was like. And it made me realize, I go back and think about that, and I'm like, okay, so that kind of creates a trail I'm on of, you know, what's my love language and journaling, stuff like that. So on this journey, it's been kind of difficult trying to learn that because it's like I'd rather do a video or talk it out or whatever. And I'm not, if I write something down, I'm probably not going to go back to it. I probably wrote it down to go back to if I ever, God leads me back to it in the future. But like, oh, wow, I did write that. And I got notebooks and stuff, but it's just like never really been like a practice to me. So like how would you say journaling is something that everybody should be doing, or is it just really just about trying to find your own way in terms of getting those thoughts out?
I think everybody should journal. But how you journal might look different. All right. So like if you're not if writing really isn't your thing, then don't write. Like we were saying, like maybe you can record yourself, maybe you type it up on your notes. Right. Maybe you do a vlog. You ain't gotta post it. Right. Maybe you're doing something, but I think the whole idea of reflection is so important. Why? And that makes you more self-aware. Right. And like people aren't self-aware because they don't reflect. And so they just continue to have these moments in life where it just keeps going moment to moment to moment to moment. But they don't ever take the time to say like, all right, what did I learn from them? All right, how am I growing? How can I grow into the next situation? And sometimes they don't realize that until they get into the next situation, and it's like, oh snap, I'm triggered. I'm triggered. But all right, you might be triggered, but you know, journaling for me essentially has helped me to become more self-aware because I'm able to reflect and I'm like, I gain wisdom over what I've learned. And so like I take that wisdom and I'm able to apply it. So that's where I'm in the process of like applying what I'm journaling about, not just writing. Because at one point in time, I would just write, but it's one thing to write it down and don't act on it, though. It's like it's kind of useless at that point. That's so where I'm at. I'm like, I'll write that shit down. It's like I'll write it down, and then I'm like, all right, I'll go about my business. It's useless at that point, but I'm growing and like learning to apply that stuff that I'm writing down into my actual day-to-day life. But like journaling is so important. And like you was talking about your grandfather a little bit, kind of made me think about my family. Because like for us, we grew up, we're not great communicators in the sense of verbally communicating things. So like sometimes we'll let things build up to a point and then all of a sudden it either spill over or something happen, somebody get mad at somebody, and then we ended up writing it out. We end up writing it out, basically talking through writing. Like somebody will get a note saying, all right, either I'm sorry and this is why, versus like talking it out. So for me, I never was a big talker. And so I've been more of a writer to be in tune with how I'm feeling, because it's hard for me to verbally process my emotions sometimes.
Why is that? You feel like you're scared of what other people are gonna think about what you gotta say?
I think it's that. It's a lot of fear in it. And I think it's also not it's like knowing who you are with. Like if I feel like I'm in a safe space where like I'm accepted with somebody, like, and they're hearing me, then I feel safe to like release some of the thoughts that's in my head, because I know it's not gonna be judged. I know that my experience isn't going to be my experience will be validated, even if it's absurd. It'll be validated, and like versus like, you crazy for thinking that. Like that's not what I came to talk to you about. You know, it'd be heard and try to be understood. And so I just need a safe space in that. And so like for me, I'm learning to trust people. And so like I'm learning to let even my closest friends truly in on that. Cause like for so long it's like, yeah, you know me, but you don't know all of me.
Right.
But like letting people in on that. But like, you know, just this whole journey of journaling and, you know, even therapy too has helped me to kind of be more transparent and more forthcoming about my emotions, especially with people that I'm close to.
Next, one thing is like you kind of touched on a little bit about confidence. Like you said, you confidence. Just sort of feel like, oh, yeah, I'm attractive, and then I was just telling you a story about myself, when hearing from our friends you're really exuding more confidence. So kind of talk about that journey of self-confidence that you've been on as well. That kind of tie in with your whole self-love and self-reflection.
No, that's good, bro, because it's one of the, like I said, it's all that whole thing of it's all a daily journey, right? And I think like on the outside looking in, people see confidence exudes from me. I was talking to one of my boys, Dre, about this today. Like I feel like I project confidence. Yeah, like, oh, he got a big smile. He got it all together, like, or he's confident about himself. But internally, at times, I feel really insecure, right? And I feel really insecure at times inside. But I'm learning, right, that a lot of people feel that way. So that's kind of normal. But I guess what has helped me in my confidence, I think for me, beginning to not only just affirm myself, but to believe it, believing it. So like,
that's a journey in itself too.
Yeah, believing it. Like, so like some of the affirmations that I would say is that like, I am enough. I am loved. I am valued. I am worthy. I'm accepted by God. I have what it takes. I am the change, right? And so at one point in time, I was saying these things, just saying it, right? But actually believing it. Yeah. So like, I am the change. So like when I go into my school every day, like I understand that I am the change that I want to see. So like in these children's life, I have the ability to help be a part of a change that I want to see in the future within them. To say that not to say that I'm the sole change, but I'm a part of it. Right. And so I start to think like that. When I start to think about I have what it takes, and stepping out and being confident, push past the fear. It's almost telling me to push past the self-doubt that tries to keep me boxed in and stop from shining my light, just to be big, take up space. I have what it takes to do whatever I have my mind to. And I think one thing that gives me really good confidence is that I'm a person that when I see it, if I can see it, I honestly believe if I can see it and I set my mind to achieving something, there's nothing I can't do. And I've proven that to myself so many times, and that's not coming from a place of arrogance or nothing. It's just been a proven reality that like, for me growing up, I always used to write like motivational stuff. And so like, one of the things that I said, there's a quote that I said when I was like 17. It was like,
are you making quotes at 17?
Bro, I had a quote and I used to have it up on my wall. I wrote it down. I was like, dang, I can't even remember it no more. I still got it though. But it was basically something to the fact of greatness isn't achieved overnight, but over time through faith, hard work, and I think it said dedication or something like that. Faith, hard work, and dedication. So like with faith, hard work, and dedication, you can do anything, and that's how greatness. And that's in reality, I was low key prophetic from when I was 17-year-old thinking about it now. Greatness isn't achieved overnight.
Right.
And so like it's a time process. So just like that self-confidence
Right.
isn't achieved overnight. I would love to wake up tomorrow morning and be the most confident man in the world.
Anybody would, yeah.
Right? But internally, that's not who I am.
Right.
And so it's a daily practice of being a little bit more vulnerable than I was yesterday, taking a little bit more risk than I was yesterday, and like realizing like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Oh, I did that, or I did this, and I stepped out. So taking those chances and betting on yourself, or, you know, just choosing not to remain in fear, be crippled by fear,
Right.
you know, believing in yourself a little bit more. That's where confidence starts to come, just daily, making one priority. This is a psychologist that I follow. She's her IG tag is the holistic psychologist. And she has some dope stuff when it comes to healing from trauma and all that. But like, she says one thing into like, you know, learning to trust yourself and stuff like that is to create one promise for yourself that you keep daily. So even if that promise is, I'm gonna make my bed up every single day, right?
Yeah.
You begin to create that promise to yourself, and in that you begin to learn to, oh, I can trust myself a little bit more. And maybe in the next day or the next week or the next month, that promise becomes like, I promise to, I don't know, read 10 pages every day or something. I don't know. You have to tailor it to who you are,
Right.
and what you're trying to do and how you're trying to grow.
Right.
But that is it. That it kind of helps develop that self-confidence. You know?
So like, what's the biggest, like wrapping up? So what's like the biggest lesson that you feel like you've learned across when we're talking about self-love, when we're talking about self-confidence, this journey that you've been on these last 3 or 4 years? What's the biggest thing that you feel like you've learned/taken away?
That's over the last 3 years, what have I learned the most? That's a good question, brother. That's good.
I always stump on the last one.
That's good. You got me stumping on the last one because it's so much. I'm just trying to like figure out what is something that can be beneficial. So like,
or you could kind of tailor it to what's one thing in the self-love category, what's one thing in the self-confidence category.
Yeah. So one thing that like I was saying earlier is, I guess, is about that self-acceptance. Learn. So like 2020 has kind of revealed that to me. In a lot of ways. It is unmasked that, like, for a lot of people, I feel like it has shown me some things about myself that like that is not so good. And I'm like, all right, man, what are you gonna do about that? And so it's like, in the past I would suppress that. I would try to suppress that aspect of myself so that only some people could only see like.
And you could suppress it. Nobody really sees it because they're not.
They're not in my body.
Right.
They don't know that. But the only thing is when I suppress it, it always came back. It always came back, and it just always, and 10 times greater than it did the time before. And so more now is just accepting that. So learning to accept myself, man, has been a part of this whole journey. And like I've learned more about myself and realized that, yo, you got what it takes, bro. And let your light shine, because that's where I'm at now. Remember at the beginning of this year, we did like for Untold, we did like our promos.
Right.
And I was and for me, it was just like in this year, I had this idea of just me wanting to share more of who I am.
I think you did that. Yeah.
Right.
You've done that, I should say.
And so I want to continue to grow that, because it's always this fear of like, it goes back to that quote, it's that Marianne Williamson quote, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate, our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us.
All right, Paul.
Who am I to, you know, like, so I think in that quote, she says like, who am I to like, I guess we ask ourselves, who am I to shine, basically.
Yeah.
But it's like, who are you not to? Like, I shouldn't shrink myself so that other people don't feel insecure. Like, I have to, when I let my light shine, I let
other people see.
I let other people see, and that can honestly, it's like lighting a candle. So I let my candle shine, and I can light your candle too and inspire you. Right. And I think that's something I'll live to do, is inspire others too. But I think that's learning to accept yourself is something that I've taken away a little more so this year. But and so in accepting, I think too, like learning to be kinder to yourself. Learning to be kinder to yourself is something that's so important, because we internalize so many voices
Right.
Like throughout our lives, we internalize the voice of our parents. We internalize the voice of our coaches, our teachers, brothers and sisters, right?
Right.
And those always ain't the best voices. And so like we learn to talk to ourselves that way. Mm-hmm. Like we wouldn't talk to nobody else that way.
Right.
So why would you talk to the person who is with you every single day that way? So learning to be kinder and have a little more compassion for myself when I make mistakes, or like just gassing myself up a little bit, right? Instead of being super critical about like, oh nah, your pants ain't creased like that, or you know what I'm saying, your pants a little hot water today, or like, you know what I'm saying, you
trying to
right,
nitpick.
Right, you feeling bloated, so you look a little fat or this and that. Nah, bro, just learning and accept you for who you are.
Yeah.
And being kinder to yourself in that way, man. So being kinder to yourself, accepting yourself. And I really think that kind of leads to that loving yourself, you know what I'm saying? And like, we have to love ourselves, like, because if I don't love myself, that's true. I really can't. I can only love somebody else so much.
Right.
You know, if I hate myself, then the person that I say I do love, I'm going to end up projecting that upon them. And so that ain't worth it. And nobody should have to deal with that. And so it's like when you love yourself, you start to open yourself up to healing, to healing the past traumas, to healing whatever, it is you may be going through. So
would you say, it's maybe kind of deep, kind of personal.
That's all right.
Would you say that trauma kind of has influenced this wave you're on, or would it be more so just trying to cause a change? Or would you say trauma has had a huge effect on your life in this way?
So like definitely trauma has played a part in my life, right?
Right.
So like, my trauma comes from childhood.
Right.
And so like, as a child, you don't realize that what you're going through, that, oh, shoot, this is a pretty deep situation, but like, you don't realize that, all right, this is a traumatic situation as a child. And so what I've learned through therapy is that like children are very egocentric, right? So the world technically, like everything revolves around the child for a while. And so like a child will basically think everything is their fault. So like, oh, my mom and dad got divorced, that's my fault. Oh, my daddy left, oh, that got, so whatever that may be. And so like, yeah, I think trauma has influenced it. And I've learned to cope as the years have gone on in my life to like, oh, shuck and jive for approval and all this and that. Just so that, I could find acceptance or get the affirmations and get the approvals that I was longing and yearning for, right? And so that's how you get to that point where you said at the beginning where I wrapped my identity in what I did, right? So football was who I was, right? And so I believe God was so graceful in how he led me through it, my journey to the NFL and all that, but then to just swoop, all right, now I got to show you something for real.
Right.
I got to show you who you are.
Right.
And so trauma, I guess recognizing that, all right, it came a point in time in my life around that 2018 time when I realized that, I am afraid. I have these fears, and it's like it hit me, and I was like, this is some deep stuff.
Right.
I knew it, but I didn't really act on it. And so I was like, man, and then like 2019 came, and I knew some people that was in therapy, and I started saying like, I'm gonna go to therapy one day, but I'm pretty self-aware. I can do this stuff myself, and I didn't have insurance, and I couldn't do that. I was like, I'm just gonna do it myself.
Right.
I got to so the end of 2019, last year, so like October 2019 is like I started working at the school, and when you start working with children, like it starts exposing a lot of things within you that maybe not healed, and like triggered, realizing how like people please, things like you want things to happen relationally that wasn't happening, and it's just like a culmination of anxiety and trying to numb it with whatever I could and not working. And so like, boom, I had a conversation with my coworker, my boy D'Angelo, and he was like, yo, you might just try it. Just try therapy out, man. Because he was a black man who was in therapy, and he's going to school to be a counselor. And I was like, I guess that might not be a bad idea.
Right.
And so therapy kind of helped me to realize the stuff, the internal work that I suppressed for so long. And so what therapy did was, like, my therapist, she's awesome. She's awesome. Her name's Kobe Campbell. And so if you're ever looking for a therapist, that's who you should go to. She's freaking awesome. But what it did is basically walk me down a journey back into my past, essentially, and like kind of just, we just walked through it and gracefully started to like heal some of the things of like acknowledging it, acknowledging like, that wasn't right how that happened, and like, and like bringing emotions that I never felt before, like sadness. I always suppressed that for some reason. The only thing I try to project like happiness or positivity, but like it was a deep level of sadness that was deep within me, and allowing that to come up and like sitting with it, and then processing it. So talking it out with others, journaling it out, like allowed those hurts and those pains to like start to bring healing into my life. And that like, I can look at that stuff and not wince or try to not think about it, just keep going. I can look at it and just like, all right, I can find peace because I know I've healed from it.
Yeah.
So trauma did have a big impact into my life. Like we all get traumatized in some degree, especially after 2020.
Yeah.
We all traumatized, but it's like, all right, the trauma is real, but you can heal from that. But that healing only comes when you are ready. Right. So it's an internal work of saying like, yo, something's kind of off, but I want to change this.
Right.
And so we have to be ready. Like healing is an inside job, right? You gotta heal. And so like we'll find ways to think we're healed. Like you can heal from something, but like it just didn't heal the right way, right? So like what therapy in a way with me was like you gotta go back and re-break that junk so that it can heal the right way. And so like you learn to heal this way, the right way. So like some people may like, oh man, the way they might deal with like depression or like anxiety is like I might hit the blunt or something, or I might go out and drink a little bit, or I might have, run it up. But at the end of the day, you still feel empty after all that.
Yeah.
And so like with therapy, it's kind of introduced me to healthy alternatives. Essentially for me, it's introduced me to healthy alternatives to heal.
Yeah.
And so I'm
profound,
grateful.
Bro.
Yeah.
That's very profound.
Yeah.
I hope y'all been enjoying this conversation.
Sure, bro.
I appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, dog. It's love.
Had a chance to sit a little bit, talk, sip, and reflect. If you want to shout out your socials,
for sure,
for me real quick, where everybody can go follow you, your blog, everything.
I got you. So you can follow me on Instagram at History in the Making. My name is Matthew Gibson, and then you can follow me on. I know everybody you get me how I introduce myself. Nah, but you can follow me on Instagram at History in the Making. It's History, the letter N, THAMAKN, History in the Making. You can go to my blog. It's wisdomintheroom.com. That's where my blogs are, and my podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, Wisdom in the Room. So check it out. As this year ends, I feel like we got some dope projects coming up. And
yes, sir.
I'm excited to let my light shine more.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah.
Be on the lookout. This was another episode of Walk with Drew. My name is Drew Muzan, joined alongside Matthew Gibson.
Sir.
Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and see you soon. Peace out.